A lot of people now argue that we're in a housing bubble.
Really?
That housing is very unaffordable for a lot of people, especially New York City of all places.
Correct.
What do you have to say about that?
I look at a bubble as something that can be explained, but is about to pop. I don't think what we're in is about to pop. I think it can easily be explained. I think we have an unaffordability crisis. I think there's an income gap, obviously, but I think rates are incredibly high. I think there's very, very, very little inventory. We're on year 3 of like 3-decade lows in terms of housing transactions throughout the United States. And that's worldwide, but just so we can focus the conversation here. It doesn't feel like a bubble to me. What it feels like is an unaffordability crisis more than anything. And it's pushing people into rents, but rents are also incredibly, incredibly high. And so something has to give. And so what will probably happen is you'll have an American debt crisis with all of the debt that people have racked up, from buy now, pay later tacos, to student debt, to auto loan debt, to just general credit card debt. I feel like there's a new credit card that gets invented every other day that sells you a bag of rewards, but actually is preying on people's lack of income to be able to afford what it means to actually live in the United States these days. That seems like a bubble to me versus housing. Anyone who's bought a home since 2008, or 2009, let's say, after Dodd-Frank, right? You've either paid in cash or you financed. If you finance, you have a 30-year fix or a 15-year fix, and that's a hefty monthly payment, or you've got an ARM, a 5-1, a 7-1, or a 10-1 ARM. And in order to get an adjustable rate mortgage, you have to be approved at the 30-year fixed monthly. So maybe you've lost your job, et cetera, that'll always happen. But I think the rate of delinquencies is not nearly where it would need to be to cause, quote unquote, a bubble.
A lot of the charts seem to show the housing prices outpacing income by like 5 times.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What do you think is causing that specifically? Do you think it's more so land scarcity, or do you think it's government policy?
I think there's policy and tax code that has both hurt and helped the American home buyer and home seller. If you think about like the capital gains write-off, right? If you think like the joint married filing jointly, right, up to $500,000, that made a big difference in the 90s. You know, if you had a house for $500,000 in the 90s and you sold it, like that's an expensive house. Today, that is barely the starter price for a home in middle America, right? 277 cities in the United States right now say a starter home is $1 million and above. Over almost 600 cities have a luxury market that's 1.4 million above. Like that is crazy, but there's no write-offs for that, right? Like what are you going to do? And so there's a lot of equity that people have built up in their homes, and they're just not moving. And so asset prices continue to go up. You have boomers that don't want to sell. Where are they supposed to go? Anyone who has a 2.5% loan that they've gotten at some point in time since 2009 to 2022, where are you supposed to go? So it's the lack of inventory that I think is pushing pricing on top of a very, very slow job growth market.
So how are people able to afford living in New York City? Because I love New York. I go there as often as I can.
They can't.
Well, but they're living there.
They're
not
there.
Just sitting vacant. You have plenty of people. You walk around Manhattan, you see plenty of people walking in, going to their apartment complex.
A lot of it's sacrifice. You know, I don't know what the debt to income ratio is in, let's say, like greater Las Vegas, but most people live paycheck to paycheck in New York City, even at the luxury level. Like they save very, very little because the quality of living is so high, and the cost of living is so high.
At the luxury level, why would they not just go down a notch to be at like the sub-luxury level to be able to save a little bit of money? Like, or is this just like a character?
Are we talking
life
like
is short?
We're talking like $3-4 million condos?
Yeah, people will live, like we have clients who, when they have a budget, right? So they have $700,000 that they've saved already for renting that they want to put down on a down payment. And then we have to sit there and talk to them and like, okay, so after the 700 goes into the down payment, because you're going to put 25% down, let's say, what do you have left? Because we have to have reserves to get your loan. You're going to have your monthly payment over and over. What if something happens, anything? And they're like, oh, well, it's fine. I'll just make more money. Like there's this idea that it's fine, I'll make more money. Or you can have alternative streams of income that I think is new, right? That's that's a new feeling that people have, not just at the $500,000 to $800,000 level, but at, like you said, the $3, $4, and $5 million level. It's okay. I'll figure it out. I can always just make more money. And people don't want to live below their means. No, not everybody's this guy, right? Like people.
I imagine you live below your means.
I don't know if I live. I mean, I could definitely spend a lot more, but I spend a lot of money to survive and to live in New York City.
On your wrist.
I've had this for a long time. But I don't look at this as an expense. I look at this as an investment. Every watch I've ever bought, which is not that many, is worth way more now than what I paid for it, right? So I do look at certain things like as investments that way. But I'm not insane with expenses. I grew up in the Great Recession of 08 and 09. Like I know what it was like back then to not have money and to watch people be totally hurt, and I will never go back to that.
Yeah, I listened to your podcast that you did a while ago with Erica Kohlberg.
Okay.
Back then, you said that you stretched yourself to buy a $3.5 million condo when you really couldn't afford it.
Correct.
That your budget was like 1.5.
Yes.
And you saw this, and it pushed you to work harder and make even more money.
Yes.
You still follow that trajectory?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have a problem.
But it's working.
So how are you applying that today?
I started my own company 5 years ago. Like I try not to. I don't push myself into situations where I could file for bankruptcy tomorrow. But I think you have to push yourself into situations where you put your back up against the wall a little bit, that if you're in a career where you could be incentivized to make more money. And I don't give this advice to like my little brother. My little brother has a W-2 job who works 9 to 5. I guess he could do some nighttime investing. He could do what some of my other friends do. He could be crypto trading. Like he could have a weekend job, sure, to always make more money, but then his quality of life and his focus would be incredibly fractionalized, both from like a mental health point of view and actually like a physical labor standpoint. So I don't do that. I think when you're in sales, your fate is what you make of it, right? You just have to make 10 extra phone calls. You can make 10 extra appointments. I could work 7 days a week. And so I pushed myself to buy that apartment. It was 3.7. And then a year later, it was like, I could have gone bigger because I just made more. Then I bought my first, big house, and that was 7.6. And that was terrifying. And then I gut renovated it. And then when I was done, I was like, maybe could have gone bigger. And then started my own company in 2020, just completely bootstrapped for the first 4 years, and then raised money for the first time in December to have strategic partnerships. I wasn't doing this 100% by myself. And I look at like what our expenses are now, and it's just mind-boggling to where I was stressed about just a couple years ago. But we just keep pushing the envelope and keep pushing ourselves to the point where we look back a year before and we say, oh, okay, that wasn't so bad.
If you've ever been denied a car loan, credit card, or even an apartment because of what's on your credit report, you are not alone. Most people don't even know what's hurting their credit score, let alone how to fix it. That is exactly where our sponsor DisputeBeast comes in. It's an AI-powered platform that helps you find and remove outdated or inaccurate items from your credit report fast.
We're talking things like late payments, old accounts and collections, or even accounts that don't belong to you. Not to mention, how it works is super easy. You connect your credit report, and DisputeBeast scans it for negative marks that could be dragging down your score. Then it generates custom dispute letters tailored for your situation, no templates and no guesswork.
You could choose to just download the data and send it to the agencies yourself, or you can use their built-in mail service where they will literally handle everything for you.
It's honestly just really clean and simple to use, and it's built by experts.
So if you're ready to take back control of your credit, go to disputebeast.com/ICH today. There's also a link down below in the description, disputebeast.com/ICH. Guys, they will literally handle everything for you. If you're dissatisfied with your credit, they will do all of the research, let you know what's going wrong, and they will fight for you. disputebeast.com/ICH. Thank you so much to DisputeBeast for sponsoring this clip.